Hi everyone, at you all, this is CoinsKid. I'm just going to dive into Bitcoin once again. Thank you for support. Okay, big up the CoinsKid crew. Thank you to each and every single one of you for your tips, your donations, the Patreon, everything. Cheers. Big up the CoinsKid crew, and thank you for following me on Twitter as well. Hit 50k subs. So all the links are in the video description of every single video I upload on YouTube, by the way. They've got tutorial videos, all sorts of goodies on CoinsKid.com in the link section as well. So do check that out. So right now, again, just a thought experiment from Bitcoin, that I think, we're moving up in these beautiful waveforms like this, and I do anticipate more upside for Bitcoin here, providing it can hold a key level support. We're looking at continuation. But aside from all that, this is a bit of a thought experiment as to when we're sort of going to get a kick here and start to break out. Okay, so I love to do these little thought experiments. So I've been looking at this particular tool here. It's the third column down. Okay, you go into it and it's called trend-based fib time. Okay, click on it. As you can see, I've got mine favorited in my toolbar up there. So what I'm going to do is just a little bit of basically thought experiment from this previous cycle just here. Okay, so this is the previous bull market high. Look, bull market high, bear market bottom, cycle wave 1 high, 2 low, 3 high, 4 low, 5 high. I do anticipate that right now we're starting to form the 5 high, and we're looking at a 200k Bitcoin up there somewhere. Okay, so right now what I'm going to do is just show you this particular tool right here. So from this cycle high here to the bear market low just there, and to this cycle high just here, you can pretty much see that it was pretty accurate, pretty close to calling the top around about halfway through the 2. Do you see that? So you see this blue band here, this is a 2 fib extension, and you can see, look, you high, you low, you high, and it gives you a projection. And you can see also, if you take a look at the particular level here, the 0382, this is where Bitcoin started to sort of bottom out and start to pick up and rally at this particular point. You see that rolled into it, and that correction just there, and then started to pick up. And obviously we had this unforeseeable black swan corona dump, and this should have just sort of theoretically kept going there. So this round about the 382 was a really, really interesting point for me of where Bitcoin started to sort of bottom out basically and move on. So that the 382 basically, and you can see it's pretty accurate with calling this particular top within the blue band towards a 2 right there. So what I'm going to do right now is from this high to this low and to this high and see what it shows me. Okay, so like we've just done there. Okay, so from this high to this low for Bitcoin and to this previous all-time high just there way back in April, I think it was, you can see that pretty much like we did here where we had this high, this low, okay, and then we start to rally. We're on the 0382 down here, we start to pick up, and you can see that pretty much here in this correction here we've lowered out near the 382 and started to pick up. Do you see that? Just like we did here in this 382, started to pick up and we started to sort of march onwards and upwards right now. So using this trend-based fib time, what I'm going to do is try and pinpoint again where I do think that we're going to sort of bottom out here for Bitcoin, and where we're going to start to see it pick up as it did here off this high, low to the high. Do you understand that? So yeah, after 0382, that was a really interesting, as you can see, it's done it before down here, picked up off 382, rallied. Here, 382, rallied. So right now what I'm going to do is drop the trend-based fib time in again off this high, just here. Let's zoom in a bit here for you. What I'm going to do right now is drop this high to this low just there, and you can see to this high as well, where we've just put that local high in. You can see that pretty much the 382 sits on around the 11th of October right now. Okay, so if this trend-based fib time is playing out, okay, we're looking at a break on the 11th of October here for Bitcoin. So write that in your notebook. Okay, so what else I want to show you is the daily time frame. You're fully aware that we're going through a very similar scenario right here. So this is a potential breakout target just here. I'll drop a vertical line in that and get rid of this right now for you. So you can see that's a potential breakout target around about the 11th of October, I think it is, just there. Okay, so roughly around there, isn't it? That's when I anticipate that Bitcoin will start to roll over. I'll do something like this and start to break out to the upside. So potentially put in some kind of structural bottom here, up here, and start to rally, and at that point you're going to be looking at breaking these highs and moving onwards and upwards basically for Bitcoin right there. Okay, so with that, what I'm looking at, and I have been looking at this for a very long time, is this particular play here. Okay, this Wyckoff distribution model. Okay, manipulation 101, capitulation, rolled down, created a low, and right now we've gone through exactly the same scenario. So I've been targeting this for quite a long time now. As you can see, it is playing out pretty much like it has before. We've got this Wyckoff distribution model. We've got the peaks. Look, 1, 2, 3, roll, peak, 1, 2, 3, roll. Okay, and like I said to you, you've got your ABC in there as well. This is what I'm looking for here, the 5 waves down. Okay, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we double bottomed. We rolled out, created a double bottom, and then we broke out there on that 0382 fib that I've just shown you. Okay, so right now, are we on the cusp of doing exactly the same thing here, where we do this 1, this 2, this 3, this 4, and then this 5, wherever it is, and we roll to this green trend line, okay, and that is where we break out on the 0382 on the 11th of October, pretty much like what we've done here. Now a little bit more technical analysis right here to back it up. I'm going to show you. So this is what I'm looking at, okay, this is what I'm looking at. It's a bit of a cheat sheet for you, but again, to invalidate all of this, all Bitcoin has to do right now is come up, break this side, break this local high, and break that, and you're gone, aren't you, or roll over and lose a low basically. But in a minute it's kind of playing out, you know, and if we can pinpoint the exact time, that would be amazing as well. So what I'm going to do is show you basically a little bit of technical analysis again from this high here, because look, this here is a mini version of this. This is a more condensed version of this. So what I'm going to do is look at the time scales of this to sort of tie in with the time scales of this. Do you understand? So what I'm going to do, from this high here to this high, which was the all-time high, that took roughly 96 days. Okay, so then this high just here, from this peak just there to this peak just there, took roughly, what was it, 30. Oh, let's get this knob on for you. Let me zoom in, make sure I get this knob on. This particular high from there, that's the high just there, took around about there as well. That's around about 37 days. Okay, so 37. So what we need to do is use a calculator right now to find out the difference between the two. So it was 97, okay, divided by 37 equals 2.62. okay, 2.62. I'm going to write that down. So then what we're going to do is find out the distance, the time it took from this peak just here to the time at which we started to break out, okay, for Bitcoin. Just so it's all a thought experiment. So it's from this peak just here down to this low where we started to break out was roughly 98 days. So I'm going to write that in my notepad. So 98 days. So what I'm going to say is, from this point here, we need to find out what the difference is between 98 days. So we need to do 98 divided by the difference. So I'm going to say 98 divided by 2.62, wasn't it? So that gives us 37 days. So 37 days, write that in my notepad. Then go back to this chart here. So from this peak here, where we peaked, we're looking at 37 days, and that brings us back into, you know, where are we? 36 days. So we're roughly there, aren't we? You know, so roughly there, 36 to 37 days. If we go through the very, very similar scenario, you know, the Wyckoff distribution, the basically the manipulation 101. If we go through a very similar scenario, we're looking at a break minimal by the 11th of October, possibly around about the 10th of October, given that time scale right there, and the 0382 fib time, trend-based fib time. It's always a bit of a tongue twister for me. Trend-based fib time, we're looking at a break in October, around about the, what is it, the 11th and the 10th and the 11th of October right there. So yeah, don't expect any kind of breakout soon for Bitcoin. That's what I'm trying to say to you. Okay, it's looking a bit choppy, a bit sideways, potentially putting another low, a bottom, like I said to you down here. So this is actually a technical target down here. Look, I'm going to show you for those that are not familiar with the channel. So yeah, I think that what you're doing is you're potentially coming to a technical target for Bitcoin, because I think that what you are in is a head and shoulders pattern just here. Now, I could be completely wrong. I think you've got the neckline here and a head and shoulders pattern. Look, you've lost it as support just there, and with that you are now in a technical target to this low just there, because this is the technical target of a head and shoulders pattern. Look, from there to the neckline, and you can see that you've lost support, boom, and it brings you down to this swing low. So do anticipate that the correction is not actually over here for Bitcoin, and we are looking at that particular target down there. It's around about $37,000, I believe it is, at the low end. Let's have a look. Let's get this knob on for you. So this is what I'm looking at around about there for Bitcoin, okay, which is swing low, and that's a technical target of a head and shoulders pattern that you've lost support of just there. Okay, see that? Boom. absolutely get this knob on. So yeah, roughly around about there for Bitcoin. So yeah, until you start to break up here and break this high, this is what I'm looking at. So I do think that, you know, what's happened before, not necessarily happen again, but I think what you're doing is you're putting in your 5 waves down, basically. You know, you got your 1 down, your 2, your 3, just there, your 4 rallying tech level resistance, your 5, and then you're going to roll over and create a double bottom. And at that point, you're going to break out like you did here, though. But it's a more condensed version, you know, and then at that point, you're going to start to break, okay? That's basically Bitcoin. You're looking for a break around about there. Now, if this plays out, and that's a 0382, and it's a more condensed version of this, given the time structure, that'd be amazing. Okay, so and at that point I do think that if you break out at that point, you're looking at a beautiful impulsive wave to the upside. I'm going to give you a breakout target. Again, I could be completely wrong, and this is just a thought experiment, but if we do come down to this particular target right there for Bitcoin, I do think the next impulsive wave, you're looking at that, and that basically breaks your all-time high for Bitcoin just there. Okay, so another thing I wanted to do as well, obviously, is the fact that we was able to predict this top given this particular band just here. Let me show you again quickly before I depart. So just here, we was able to forecast potentially when the top would come in for Bitcoin using this particular scenario just here. From there to there, you can see that it pretty much gave you in the 2 the top basically. So right now, if we look at Bitcoin on the very similar sort of scenario right now, that from this high to this low to this high, okay, where does that take us on the 2 basically? Where would that actually take us to a cycle high for Bitcoin moving forward? So if I do that to that high, you could see that towards the midterm of 2022 could be a cycle high for Bitcoin of this wave 5, which is beginning to form right now. Do you see that? Because look, the high to the low to the high gave us the target of the 3rd wave, the high, which was in the blue zone, the 2, and right now we've got the high to the low of the 3rd wave to the high. Okay, that gives us our target of the sort of blue zone for the 2. So potentially, you know, this particular area here for Bitcoin in here somewhere in 2022 is where we could actually top out for Bitcoin. Again, not financial advice, and nothing I say is financial advice, but right now, if we do start to break out in October and start to pick up, we could be looking at a beautiful year end pushing towards 107k, have that correction, and then you'll be looking at that there. Because for those of you new, this is what I'm looking at potentially for Bitcoin. I'm going to show you right now off the bat. This is what's always been my target for Bitcoin. Okay, I'll show you. So using the fib tool just here, I do suspect that Bitcoin is on its way to the 2.272, okay, because that's where it always gets to in bull markets. And you can see that pretty much we're running to the 1618, you know, from way down here when we got a bear market low, bear market previous cycle high. We've gone through all the fibs, we've broken the highs, you know, and we traced up to the 1.618. We fell back to a key level support, which was the 1272. You know, we held it like a boss, and right now we're starting to form the next 5th wave up to the 2, where we'll roll back, and then a 2.272 sometime in mid 2022. This is what I'm looking at until I'm not. Okay, so that's basically Bitcoin. It's a little bit of a thought experiment on where I do think we're going to get this break and a potential, you know, sort of sideways chop action until we get that, and potentially looking at 10th of 11th of October, where we do actually start to break out here for Bitcoin, you know, like we did in this particular break. Okay, so that's Bitcoin. Take care everyone. Little thought experiment. Bye bye.